Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to today's episode. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We've got an awesome episode lined up for you with my good friend Nick Miller of Venari Effect. Got to meet this guy. I've been following him for a while now online, and they put out some great content. You've got Nick Miller and his good buddy Easton and Nick's brother also. So they're all a group of three guys that just put out some awesome content. I hope you guys are following them. Make sure you do. You guys will really enjoy this episode. Me and Nick break down, just kind of our hunting styles a little bit. We're both mobile hunters who've been at it for a while, and really just got to pick his brain on what's changed for him over the years. And then also we get to compare his home state of Ohio to, my state now in Kentucky, and just the similarities, the differences. Nick also hunts Kentucky, so I was really interested to kind of just discuss with him the differences between both of our states and highlight some of the things we like, some of the things we despise, and, a lot of good stuff. So there's a lot of good highlights in here for the pros and cons of each state if you guys are thinking about hunting Kentucky or Ohio for this upcoming fall. So stay tuned. We've got an awesome one lined up. You guys will really enjoy this one. First off, I want to thank our sponsors that make this possible for us: Lone Wolf Custom Gear, Osseo Gear, Timberwolf Supply Company, and Painted Arrow Outdoors. Make sure you're following each and every one of these companies, guys. And please, if you enjoy this episode or you enjoy our show, do me a huge favor. Just share it for us. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube, I really would enjoy if you go and subscribe to us. I've been doing my best to try and put all of our episodes on YouTube now, and just putting out more content. If you guys didn't catch my latest update, what we're going to be doing here probably into July, I'm going to shift in August and we're going to start doing weekly episodes again. But this is kind of like that low time period. I've noticed the traction's not quite as much as it was before. And it's just a time of year. Everybody's busy. I'm busy. We're getting ready to move to Iowa here shortly. So what I'm going to do is release a podcast every other week. And then in the following, in between those episodes, I'm going to do a highlight and do a video breakdown on either gear or some tactics. So if any of you guys listening have anything that you want to learn about, message me, PM me. I'd be happy to either get a guest on that's really knowledgeable if it's something really big that I feel like we can do an episode on. But for little gear breakdowns and stuff like that, I'm going to try to just show you guys what I'm doing and keep them short and sweet, 5 to 10 minute videos. So hope you guys enjoy that. Let's get into our quote of the week. This one is from Jim Rohn. I really like this quote, and I think y'all will too. Jim says, "You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight." Hope that you guys like that one. It's absolutely the truth. You can't really go anywhere without a destination. And I've always loved this other quote, not to make it too, but a ship with no destination will never leave the port. So hope you guys enjoy that. Let's get into today's episode with Nick Miller. So what's up, Nick? How you been, buddy? Good to see you again.
Doing well, man. I appreciate you having me. I've been busy, but good. I think in my life, busy is good. I like staying busy. So yeah, appreciate having me on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. No, I was really looking forward to this. We finally got to meet each other at the Columbus show, man. I really I dig your style if you want to look at it that way. It's like you guys, we're very like-minded, and I think we hunt deer the same way. So, for getting us together, I thought it'd be great for, the audience, everybody listening, maybe to just get our feedback on our states individually and just kind of, compare some of our hunting styles and gear and stuff like that, and just shoot from the hip and get into some good conversation, man.
That sounds great to me. Yeah, it was fun seeing you at the show. I love going to those shows because all the internet faces that you feel like anyway. Like I've watched your stuff, listened to your stuff for a while, and then to see you in person, it's like, oh yeah, what's up? It's weird to put two and two together, and it was fun talking to you there.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, I recognize you guys. I was like, oh man, what's up? Feel like we know each other, but we don't. And no,
I'm always so bad with names too.
Oh, like same.
So it popped into my head, and I'm like, wait a minute. It took me a minute, but
yeah, no, dude, I feel the same way. It's so tough, and I'm honored to have people come up and be like, hey, are you Justin? I'm like, man, yeah, Justin, yeah. I had a random dude at the gas station recognize me the other day, man. I was like, what is going on? That was freaking wild. We were in line together, and he looked at me weird, and I was just like, "How you doing?" He's like, are you a deer hunter?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm wearing my running and gunning shirt too, by the way. So like, he just sees the back of my logo, and he's like, "Do you have a podcast?" "Yeah." Are you the host?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh man, I watch your stuff all the time." I was like, "Yeah, Justin, right?" Yeah, yeah. I was like, that was freaking wild, man. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and this guy's like, "Really? You live around here?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
That's awesome. Makes you feel like what you're doing is worthwhile and having an impact. Yeah,
it is. It's wild, man. Hey, while we're on the topic of that, Nick, why don't you just give us a little breakdown about Venari Effect and what you guys are doing, and if for those people out there that might not know about you guys.
Sure. Yeah, I think I mentioned pre-pod. My brother and I have been filming our deer hunts really forever. Our dad would, take us to the woods when we were kids, and he would always have a camera in one hand and his bow in the other. And I always joke, like, most of the time the dude was pulling out the camera instead of pulling out, getting his bow ready. Like, he loved documenting what we were seeing. So we kind of grew up like filming our hunts just the way that we hunted. And then Jake and I were in some like, editing classes in high school or whatever. And so we started just throwing them together for fun and putting them on YouTube just to be able to relive. And it's kind of led us in some different directions, doing some different marketing work and filming some commercials and stuff for different companies within the industry. And, the YouTube and podcast side of thing, although it's a little bit of a side gig, it's really just an immense passion for my brother and I. And then handful of years ago, our good buddy Easton kind of joined in on the fun. So the three of us have a lot of fun documenting our adventures, and we try to share hunting in a positive light. Seems like there's a lot of, not to knock anyone, but there's a lot of like untasteful or like killing for content type stuff out there. And we just personally, we look at hunting in a different light, and we try to really portray that through our videos. So
that's awesome, dude. No, and you guys have some killer content. I highly advise all you guys listening, if you're not subscribed, to go check out their channel. They got some great videos. And, the funniest thing, like, at first, I honestly did not know that you guys were brothers. I thought you guys were buddies.
Well, so he's not my brother. That's Easton.
Okay,
so that's
Easton's
our buddy.
Okay.
Yep. My older brother Jake. He's got 5 kids, so he's busy a lot of the time.
Okay.
But once spring and fall roll around and we're chasing deer and turkeys, we're together a lot. But we kind of started the whole thing when we were a lot younger, and then Easton that you met at the Columbus show.
Right.
That's our buddy.
Right.
Yep.
I got you. Cool.
Yep.
So it's the three of you guys collective get together and share all your hunts. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you filming with nowadays, man?
Well, I was filming with a mirrorless for a while, a Sony A7 IV, and we still do from time to time, like especially if Jake's filming me or I'm filming Jake, just from the quality standpoint.
Right.
But by yourself, if you're hunting and using a camera arm, it's tough running a mirrorless. So
it is. Yeah.
We have a Sony. It's like a PX. I'm not even exactly sure the rest of it. I don't get into the nitty gritties with it, but it's a camcorder, which I found is a lot easier to self film with. So
absolutely, buddy. I couldn't agree more. I switched. I started off with a Canon G20. I've been filming, I guess, for about 8 or 9 years, and I started off with that Canon, man, and I loved it, and it was amazing. And I really wanted to like up it, from the HD to the 4K. So I adopted into the Sony A6400, got one of those, and I had the mirrorless. And I'll be honest with you, it was just way overcomplicated for me, way too fragile. It's a big camera. I loved it. I love the quality side, but God, I was so nervous that I was going to end up picking up a twig and not the shot that I wanted. And it even happened on a doe at like 10 yards. I plugged a doe, and it should have been, I thought it would be the most crisp footage ever. And I glance over, looks great. I go to draw, and it fuzzes out just a little bit. And I was so upset. I'm like, well, I'm glad it wasn't like a giant, but it's like, it is what it is. It's just part of the game. And I do agree with you firmly. Like, those cameras are really good if you're just videoing someone, but for self-filming, unless you're in a blind or an open field or something, it's kind of tough to get that clarity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the photography side of things. So
Yeah.
I run that A7 IV a lot, when I'm taking pictures and stuff, but,
Yeah.
and ideally we like hunting together. Like my brother and I are fortunate. We live close. We both have pretty flexible work schedules. So like during the fall, we get to spend a lot of time together in the woods. So ideally we're filming each other, but as life progresses and things get busier and families are growing and everything, we find ourselves solo more and more. So,
Yeah.
and our dad will still, come with us from time to time, and he loves videoing.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
He hadn't shot
That's
a
so
deer in
cool.
like 20 years just because he loved videoing us, and we finally got
Really?
him back on the saddle recently. But so yeah, ideally we're together and somebody's videoing. But
That's killer, man. That's killer. Yeah. So, you know, did your dad, I guess he's the one that really got you guys, the passion for the outdoors. Is that really how it started?
yeah, just like a lot of folks, yeah, he was pretty ate up with it. But we were like, heavily involved in athletics, so a lot of times we were just, hunting on Sundays or whenever we had a free moment. But yeah, it's definitely kudos to him.
Yeah. Now, how did you guys start off hunting? Were you hunting private or public? Like, write a scenario for me. Like when you first got started. I mean, was it ladder stands? How did your dad hunt?
It's funny, we talk about this a lot because we were mobile hunting before like mobile hunting was a thing, and I think a
Yeah.
lot of people were. We just didn't
Uh-huh.
realize we were.
Right.
We would very often, when Jake and I were little, never even climb a tree. Like he would just take us into the woods. We'd find sign, put the wind in our face, and set up in like a deadfall or up against a big stump or whatever.
Yeah.
And we had some great hunts back then. We were pretty fortunate. Our uncle, he owns like, I think it's like 80 acres close to us here. So we cut our teeth on his ground. But yeah, that's how we hunted for the longest time, and we had a lot of success in our early days. And I fully attribute it to that
Right.
like hunting style,
Uh-huh.
because then as we got older and as we progressed and we started watching, outdoor television and being influenced by those things, we found ourselves, hanging permanent stands, planting food plots and whatever. And although those things are good and you can have success doing them, our success went downhill.
Yeah.
We kind of, again, just bought into everything we were seeing like on TV, and
Yeah.
it became like miserable hunting that way. And then once we realized that and started being mobile again and hanging, we were mobile with tree stands as we got older, not sitting on the ground, but our
Yeah.
success went up again. So there's definitely something to just diving in, reading the sign, and hunting.
Absolutely, man. Now, I feel really lucky. My dad, when I really got into hunting, we had some like ladder stands and stuff like that. But I was always mobile too. Like I couldn't sit still. I climbed out of my ladder stand to shoot like my first decent buck, and my dad was so stoked. He's like, dude, nobody does that. Like seriously, and he's like, I'm just stoked that I called him. This is back when we had walkie talkies, and I was freaking out.
Nice.
But then
That's awesome.
as it progressed, I always saw him going deep in the timber with a climber. So naturally, like as soon as I was of age to do stuff like that, I picked up bow hunting, started using the climber, then switched over to hang-ons, and the same kind of bell curve happened for me. Like when I was younger and with a climber, I was always on deer, right? And then here I am, just intruding too much and doing way too much stuff, and now it's just all mobile, and it's pretty much my game. I'm not going to act like I don't have pre-hung steps or something on a farm somewhere. If I find a good spot, I like to hunt them like that. But
Yeah, there's definitely applications for it, and we're the
right.
same way. We have permanent sets on our home property here, and but I find myself, probably, I bet you do too, but like a lot of times when I'm hunting those, I'm just like, man, I need to be over there. Like I need to be moving.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And that's kind of the best thing about having, our systems that we have nowadays, just be the flexibility to be able to do that. And brings me into a great subject. What is your system you're running now, man? What's your go-to?
So you probably hate hearing this, but I have a beast stand in sticks.
That's cool. Hey,
Which
we're not prejudiced here. We're
I
not.
know you're
This is yeah. No, this is a mobile hunting podcast. I don't want it to be about a brand. But no, that's great, man. They're good stands.
They're great stands. Honestly, this has probably hurt me in more ways than it's helped me throughout my life, but I always like being transparent with this. I've very much been a person that like just naturally I guess deviates towards like whatever isn't the norm. So like I got a lot of, buddies and guys around here that are running some of the lone wolf stuff. So I was like, I'm going to try something else. Just
Right.
I love, I mean, I think their stands, their gear is some of the most thought out and professionally built gear on the market. But I was like, I'm going to try something else. So I got a B
Yeah.
stand and sticks. Man, we're spoiled when it comes to technology these days.
Yeah.
Like just, I can't believe when I throw that on my back, like that we used to do it any other way. I remember lugging in just these nasty, heavy. Jake and I were just talking. One of them was literally called like a Bigfoot tree stand, and we were
Yeah.
like throwing ratchet straps on them as our backpack straps, carrying them to the woods. And I'm just like,
Yep.
man, we have it made today.
Absolutely,
So,
man. No.
yeah,
I'm glad. How old are you, buddy? I wanted to ask.
30.
30.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like
Mm-hmm.
we're pretty similar as far as like where we were at with like the technology and everything. It's pretty similar like level playing field, I'd say, for what you've done and what I've done. I mean, in Ohio, are you hunting with a climber at all? I know you have a
I,
lot more straight timber in some places.
yeah, we do have a lot of straight timber. I've hunted with a climber maybe twice in my whole life.
Okay.
I used to hunt really high, but the last 5 years or so, I hunt pretty low. I love listening to Cody and his insight on some of that stuff, and it's worked really well for me.
Mhm.
I usually carried 4 sticks to the woods, and now I just try to carry 2 with aiders.
Yeah.
If I can get 12 feet, I'm stoked. The buck I killed last year, I was like 6 feet off the ground in a tree the size of my calf. So
Yep.
like I'm not really concerned anymore. I just try to find the cover and stay low. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, I've never got big into the climber game.
Yeah, I think that was probably just, I look back and I'm like, I had a climber, I had a backpack full of a bunch of shit that I never used. I had everything you can think of in there. And that was just me picking up stuff from my dad. It's like, hey, this is what he does, this is what I'm going to do. And now, like, we're complete polar opposites. Like, he was here this year visiting when I shot my buck, and he was like blown away. He's like, that's all you take in the woods? Like that little pack? I'm like, yeah, dude, you don't need all this. Like, what, I'm like, if it wasn't for me filming my hunts, I probably wouldn't even take a backpack. Like,
Yeah,
you don't really need one.
you're spot on. It's funny because like your dad may be the same way, but my dad doesn't consume outdoor content like I
Right.
do. So he's
Yeah.
still like his knowledge is still just on like what he's always done. So I remember when we started being a little more mobile with our stands, like he was so used to going in July when it's nasty and hot in the woods and carrying in these big stands and screwing pegs and hanging these permanent sets. And he would always like double ratchet them and then also put like a chain and a lock around them.
Yeah.
And I remember it just being this like hellacious process. I mean, it was miserable.
Right.
And then going in now and you can throw a setup in, 5 minutes. It's just like, I remember him just being like, this is crazy. This concept is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. My dad, we always had that climber, and he stuck. That was his tried and true. And it was like, it killed me all the time though. Cause I'm like, dude, like that's the tree I need to be in, but I can't get in it. And he's like, well, you just got to pick a different tree. Like, I'm like, well, this doesn't work, And, when I got my hands on, like, I got a XOP stand when I first started, and the original Lone Wolf sticks, and God, I was like, I remember Garrett Braille, like in the beginning, like he was like the go-to, mobile hunter that you would look up. And I remember just setting up my stand, dude, and just being like, I am not Garrett Braille. Like this is just embarrassing. The first time I'm hanging my stand, dude, get back there drenched in sweat, and the deer just blowing at me, dude. And the deer, they won't even leave me. They are just walking towards me, stomping at me and blowing like, it was terrible. But I've come a long way, It's kind of wild to see how fast, everything has changed, if you want to say it that way. Like for lightweight, durability, quietness, I mean, everything. So yeah, you're all right. We're definitely very blessed nowadays to have what we have.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt.
So does your brother or anybody else, or are you guys all stand guys? Or you saddle hunt? Anybody?
Jake, my brother, saddle hunts quite a bit. Especially he loves like if he's filming me, he loves being in the saddle.
There's nothing better, dude.
I'm a big tree stand guy. I've only hunted out of a saddle a couple of times, and I can't really explain it. I love being in a stand. But I think just like we talked about earlier, like the the saddle, there is an application and a time and place for that for sure, where that is super beneficial. And then Easton hunts kind of hybrid both. He'll sometimes saddle hunt, sometimes stand hunt. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's where I'm at nowadays. Like I like having the Lone Wolf came out with a Ranger hybrid. I don't know. Have you seen that thing?
Yeah. I'm curious what they're coming out with tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I can't. I can give some giveaways because they'll be out by then. But
Okay.
yeah, the Sandcast stands are coming back. So
okay.
stay tuned.
Cool.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff and some other stuff I'm not going to talk about. But
all right.
But yeah, I feel like the cat's kind of out of the bag for the Sandcast stand. They've been releasing like every day. I'm like, oh man, come on.
I thought I heard some stuff about some different sticks, but
you would be correct. Yeah, there's some bringing some stuff back, but it's going to have a new swing on it. So
nice.
Really,
I'll get my hands
really
on some of that eventually.
Yeah, and it's going to be at a better price point. So
nice.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. That's that. By the time this one airs, like that stuff will be out. So yeah, I hope you like it. We'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing it too. They've been keeping it all secret from us, but
man, they just talked about consistency with things before we started the podcast. They're just so consistent with just the top notch of the top notch.
They're just incredible. Like getting to know Andre and Cody really well. Like Andre literally just stays up at night and thinks about how he's going to improve this or that or change this or that. It's like there's all this new stuff, and I'm like, but I feel like honestly talking to both of them, it's kind of like we're at that point where like how much more can really change. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We can make stuff lighter. We can do this or that, but like I feel like the stand is the stand. Like there's not that much more you can really do other than switching up materials. And that's, I don't know. In my opinion, I'd rather have a billet stand than a carbon fiber stand. I just ease of mind for me and hunting cold weather. But
do you run on your stand? Do you run one strap or one cam buckle?
Yeah, just one. I mean, just one. I feel super safe, man. When I'm especially being in a saddle, it's like if something were to happen, I always run my stands the same way though. Just one strap. I mean, I'm always tied in. I'm huge on safety. So I was just curious. I always ran two until 2 seasons ago, and I started just running one. Yeah. I'm like, I will never go back to two. I see no difference. Yeah. When you cam your stand in, there's really no need for it. That's the whole point of like toe cam in a stand is just to get that thing super tight. But yeah, man, to get back to the whole point, like really what turned me on with the whole saddle hunting deal was when I started filming, just the ease of filming with it was phenomenal for me. So, and I hunted a lot of deer that I needed to be on the backside of the tree. Like I was around a lot of deer and I was constantly getting picked off in the stand. So it was just another surprise kind of thing for me to get right in the crotch of a tree. And, I just stuck with it. I liked it better. It was easier, but yeah, to each their own, man. Like everybody's got their thing that they like and whatever you feel the most confident in. That's what's so cool about this sport, if you want to call it a sport, is like there's a million ways to have success and they all work. And it's so cool to see different guys hone in on different styles and techniques. And it's like there's no right or wrong. Like it just let's get into your like strategy, man. Where are you at like right now, this time of the year? And where, are you hunting out of state this year? What's your goals? What are you getting into? Yeah, around here, the big strategy of mine this off season is going to be acquiring some ground to hunt. We lost 2 properties this past season that were pretty primo. Both sold. So unfortunately changed hands and both went to guys that hunt. So, my strategy this summer is going to be try to land some more property. I'm pretty fortunate to live on a piece that, my parents had bought, I think back in 2016. And then, I was lucky enough to buy a house and 5 acres that connects to that woods. So we have like almost 60 acres here that's within the family now. So I have that always to fall back on. But we're always kind of under the assumption that like, the more options you have, the better off your season's going to be. Just, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself to one property. So no, absolutely not. Yeah. So when it comes to hunting around here, gaining some more access, which is becoming tougher and tougher, obviously. And then from there, we don't do a whole lot of running bait or running,
we put some mineral sites out over the summer just to figure out what's around, but we kind of just wait for the season to roll around. We used to do like a bunch of scouting throughout the summer, and we don't really do a whole lot of that anymore. We just kind of stay out of the timber. And then usually we spend our opening morning, which is, maybe a little bit different than what a lot of people do. We spend our opening morning like still hunting and using that as like our scouting mission.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time we're in looking, what oaks are dropping, looking for some fresh rubs and some fresh scrapes, and even bumping into some deer. And that's actually how I killed that one a couple of years ago. We went in there, saw him, kind of figured out what he was doing. He was feeding on white oaks. He kind of disappeared for a little while, and then we caught up with him beginning of November, saw him 3 days in a row, and each time just kind of made strategic moves and ended up killing him. So hunting around here, that's kind of our style and what we like to do anymore. I coach wrestling at our local school. So once like middle of November hits, my weekends are pretty much toast. I always try to hit it real hard beforehand, and try to seal the deal prior to. We always try to make it down to your neck of the woods. We've been going down to Kentucky for the last, my gosh, probably going on like a decade now.
Cool.
So we try to make a trip down there, just depending on how our season goes here.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Yeah.
Like 2020, we all killed the first like 2 weeks. So we made a lot of trips down there throughout the year, and we have a blast doing that. Like, just the hunt camp atmosphere, tent camping, all that fun stuff. And then we're going to go out west this year to mule deer hunt as well. So that'll be on the docket.
Cool.
I killed a mule deer out in Montana back in 19. And then I didn't draw 2 years ago, but my brother and Easton did. So I still went out there with them and just filmed. But I drew again this year. So
that's awesome, dude.
That'll be on the agenda. So yeah, looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, man, that's killer. Sounds like a great season. Hopefully, I really like your approach there, though. Honestly, I think when I was younger, my dad, tried to drill that into me. I never listened to him because I'm just stubborn. But I did it. I actually did that on our little home property. We had like a strip, but it's kind of irrelevant. It was almost like a perfect little pinch. There's no way you can go in there and not run into a deer somewhere. And I wasn't trying to kill a giant buck at that time. It was just, if it's brown, it's down kind of deal. Yeah. And I think about that a lot. Like, and I'm like, am I kind of screwing myself by doing this? I've been a lot more selective on what I'm doing and like intrusion. And I try to glass a lot more now and just kind of set my cameras out for a while. I mean, are trail cameras huge in your strategy? Are you guys doing mock scrapes or anything of that nature?
Man, they're not. We don't utilize them like some people do. I honestly probably ran last year four cell cameras, mainly just to figure out like if there's a deer on a property that we want to hunt.
Right.
That's probably going to change a little bit this year. The property that we lost, the main one was like almost 300 acres, and it was a swamp. So that like canary grass or whatever that grows in those swamps, man, it hunted a lot bigger because of how like thick and nasty it was.
Mm-hmm.
So we ran cameras to kind of figure out what was in there, but we also weren't super concerned with like bumping deer. They just held so tight to this river bottom property, and it seemed like if you went in there and bumped a couple bucks, it's like they'd cross. Yeah, they'd like cross the river and you'd get on them over there, and that's just I think how that property hunted for whatever reason. It was pretty like isolated. It was actually surrounded by like some city property on the one side, like a highway on the other, and then a piece that nobody's allowed to hunt. So it was just one of those like ideal properties. So we weren't real conservative on that property. We got really aggressive and we didn't try to stress too much. It also held a ton of deer. So like, I think just naturally being a river bottom, it's like just a highway for them pretty much. And
right. Like just a deer conveyor belt. They're going to be pushing in and out. Yeah.
You couldn't go in there and not spook a ton of deer just by going on the property. So
I'll be honest with you. I mean, do you feel, not to interrupt you, go ahead.
No, I was just to tie a bow, and I was just going to say that strategy is probably going to change a little bit this year because we're hunting what we have left is, smaller timber, smaller acreage, 30 to 60 acre type stuff. Some of it other guys hunt. So we'll probably rely on the trail camera side of things a little bit more.
I gotcha. I wanted to ask, like, if you had it your way, I kind of like when I moved here to Kentucky, our deer density is not near the same as I was used to in Maryland, right? And I wanted to get your input on like, do you think it's better to have that much volume of deer, or would you rather it be less so you're not constantly pushing deer? What's your thoughts?
The first thing that comes into my head was I love a lot of deer just because I love seeing deer. But if
Yeah,
you're trying to hunt a specific buck, a specific mature buck, I think you'd want less deer
yeah, yeah,
because you have when you're bumping all those deer, just naturally
right,
you're gonna tip them off. So
yeah,
if I'm going in there and I'm not hunting a specific deer, like both these bucks I killed on that swamp property, and again, like at this one I didn't even know existed, and this one was just all over the place. It didn't seem to matter. But if I'm hunting a smaller acreage, a specific mature buck, I'd want less deer.
yeah. No, I agree. I had one scenario that really sticks out from this past season. It was really just bad luck, honestly, on my part. I did my part and I did everything right. Um, I think I went a little bit too slow. I still hunted my way into this big drainage, pretty much like a thermal hub, if you want to look at it that way. This buck was bedded on the other side of the ridge from where I was, if you think about like a V. And I had a hunch that that's where he was bedded at, right? Like I had a cell cam, it's sitting over minerals. This deer would just show up here and there, and I'd catch him coming down the edge of the field, and like it's standing corn. So I'm like, all right, where's he bedded at? Like in the corn. And then one time he popped up from this bottom, and I was like, all right, I think on the next time I got like a good south wind, like I'm gonna go throw a sit and try to push. I know that there's a bench right there, and that's probably where he was at. So I'm still hunting my way in. I get right to like the crest of where he would be able to visually see me. I hunch down even lower, and I like, it's real thick. It's coming up. Dude, I get up there and I put one stick on the tree, and I'm hanging my second stick, and he comes barreling ass down the ridge, right? Like directly. I mean, I'm looking at the trail coming up, and I'm like, this is the trail that comes out of that bottom, and he's going to come right up top. And it was like mid-September. They really weren't like, I think I just had the camera positioned on a great trail system pretty much, where they were just coming in and out of this bottom. And I didn't have them on camera for days. I just was like, you know what? It's a good front coming through. Maybe I'll catch him, coming out. And dude, I was so bummed out. Like, I mean, it was a giant buck. He might not have scored that much, but it's like a 9 or 10-year-old deer. If you guys listening know about Frank the Tank, it was Frank the Tank. And big split too, like just a giant 6-point with but he was probably a 300-pound deer. So, dude, I see him coming, and I like slide down. I unhook my lineman's, was able to like stick my stick in between this V tree that I was in, and like didn't make any noise. I get down to the base of the tree, lift my bow up, dude, and he locks eyes with me. And we had like a stare off for 3 minutes. But just like one of those scenarios where, you can use a camera on a good trail or a hunch, and I don't know, like if now this is where I was going with that. I'm sorry, I lost track. I was getting on into the story.
You're good.
So the deer density thing, like had that been a deer dense area, there's no way in hell I would have been able to get away with what I did. I mean, I covered probably 500, 600 yards, and I think I did bump one deer, but I just got lucky and it pinned away another direction from where he was. But I was thinking about that in that scenario. I'm like, man, if this, I hate it sometimes because a lot of times I go hunting and I don't see a deer. But I'm hunting that one buck. I'm hunting him out of his bed, like these transitions, and it can get really discouraging, and like, but in those scenarios when you're trying to pull those aggressive moves, I think it's better for you to push when you don't have that deer density. Like I had a really hard time with that growing up on like, how far do you push in before you set up, like, do you bump deer? Do you not bump deer? And I think a lot of guys struggle with that,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate spooking game.
Yeah.
It stresses me out, and yeah, I hate that aspect of it. And I constantly toy with that in my mind because the deer numbers around where I reside are not what they used to be, just like in a lot of areas. And some days I'm like, man, this stinks. You're seeing 1 or 0 deer or whatever. But the flip side to that coin is, like you said, it's probably for the better if you find that buck that you want to hunt, especially if he's, on your ground, or not, you're not hunting him when he's, spending a lot of time with the neighbors. You're just hoping he pops over. If he's like living on you, the lower deer numbers, I think, are definitely in your favor if you're trying to hunt him.
Absolutely.
But some days I go out there and I'm like, man, I just want to see deer.
Right. No, I do too, man. I'm with you. It's a tough toss up, right? I mean, there's times I think about, do I want to go hunt over here and see 20 or 30 deer, or do I want to go over here and maybe not see anything, and that can really drain on you, man. Like, I know I've noticed here, especially, we almost have this like lull period before the rut really cranks off. Like, I'll be hunting, and I think I've learned why that was the case, honestly. Like, in a few years ago, I was really hunting a lot more field edges than instead of being down in the woods where I needed to be. And it was a situational thing, honestly. Like, I'm just, some of the ground I hunt, I'm not able to access the woods, right? Like, I've only got this spot or that spot. So I'm forced to the field edge. But you and I both know when the rut's cranking, those deer are using those kind of areas left and right. And I just feel like sometimes, man, it's just completely dead. Like, you won't see a single deer for 4 or 5 days. And then it's like a light switch and they're freaking everywhere, and big deer too. And I mean, what's your takes on that in Ohio? Is it similar to you?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, it's like they go underground. Like you said, it's almost, we see it a lot of times. Like, but I know, like, the first week of November, it gets a lot of hype and there's a lot of like mystique around the first week of November. But our best like rut hunting around here is like November 10th through the 15th, it seems.
Okay.
Sometimes even like right around Thanksgiving, we've had like first weeks of November where we experience exactly what you just talked about, where it's like, man, this is like the rut, first week of November, and it's like,
everybody's
you don't see a deer.
Yeah, sweet November. Yeah, this is so sweet. Yeah, day 4. You're like, how many deer have you seen? Not a deer, not one. And dude, I killed one of my biggest scoring deer to date. Behind me, like, I didn't see anything for days and days, and I finally, like, I was like, I'm not gonna hunt until I find the sign that I'm looking for, dude. Big old car hood scrape, another scrape, another scrape, another scrape. I'm like, all right, he's here. And I set up, killed him that night. It's like, and that's just like, to get back to your point of like how much better it is for you when you're not seeing what you want to see to get down and move and find something.
Yep. There's definitely something like, I don't know how, I guess, to articulate it, but I'm sure you experience this too. Like, I'll be in an area or looking for sign, and you find what you just described, and like, you can just feel it in your core. Like, this is where I need to be. I'm going to have a good hunt. And there's something to that. Like, I rely a lot more on like intuition as the older I get when I'm out there. Like, there's some hunts where I'm just like, this is going to be a terrible hunt. I can feel it. I can feel that this is not where I need to be. This is not right. And usually it ends up being true. Yeah. There's obviously the one-offs where you're surprised, but some of those hunts where your gut's just like, man, this is the spot. This is the sign. This is it. Pay off.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, but on the flip side of that, for a lot of these newer guys that, sorry, I had spaghetti and it's coming back up. On the flip side of things, man, like, there's a lot of guys that are newer that might not know, or like can walk right past that. And I think the scrapes are the biggest thing for like newer hunters to really understand, like, is that a scrape that was just laid down at night, or is that a scrape that he's hitting during the day? Or is that a primary scrape? Is that a hub scrape? Like, there's all this information. And I think it really hurts a lot of these younger guys that don't have that good, like, base knowledge or that intuition to trust their gut, and they're either they walk too far in, or, again, like picking that spot,
I used to always tough. You're right. I used to always think like, man, these new guys that are getting into hunting have it so easy because they have so much stuff right at their fingertips. They don't have to go out there and fail. But it's probably not that easy because there's so much information out there. It's probably overwhelming, without, like you said, the baseline. No, I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah. I love what you said about the failure, because that's one of my biggest things that I preach to all my friends is like, well, if that's what you think, then go do it, man. Like, hey, what do you think about this? We all have that one friend. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I mean, hey, I'm not gonna act like I haven't been that guy, especially when
Yeah.
you got a giant to go chase and you're like, wow, oh, they're like, guys, do not let that deer's rack influence what your decisions are. Like, he does not know what he has on his head. It could be the biggest deer of your life, and he could be a 4-year-old and be all over the place, and you could totally kill him. You just don't know. You got to go. And what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to fail where you're one step closer. I've been huge on that. I've had so many people ask, like, well, how are you so consistent? Because I hunt so much, and I'm just not going to give up until I kill a deer. Like, it's that simple. Like, it sucks sometimes. I'll be honest. Like, Kentucky has kicked my ass like over and over again. And I'm grateful for it because I've learned a ton, but it's like, that's how you become a good hunter. And I think too many people are looking for that secret sauce, or that, this is all I got to do. Like, it's so much deeper than that. And that's what makes it so special,
Yeah. That's just life in general. Like, the more you fail, the more you learn. And as long as you're, I guess, applying those things and trying to move forward in a good direction, like, yeah, you're gonna be successful. What is it? Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. If you're failing and then you just keep doing the same thing, well,
Yeah.
You may have a different outcome. But yeah, I've learned so much from going in there and just completely screwing it up. And in the moment, you're like, oh my gosh,
But it sticks with you more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, the failures stick with you way more. One of my favorite
Absolutely.
questions I ask all my guests is, what's your biggest failure that, turned you into the hunter you are today, and I love that, because not enough people are talking about the failures. You know what I mean? We're all talking about successful hunts and what we're doing, but some, just hearing that from some of these top-notch guys that we respect, like, is amazing. It's like, everybody started off with no knowledge, like, everybody that you respect that's a hunter has failed way more times than they ever succeeded. Like, and it goes with everything in life. But to kind of touch back on Kentucky versus Ohio thing, we both share the same style of hunting, where I don't really like to use bait. I will use bait here and there to check areas and like check for mature deer, whatever, for just monitoring what bucks are around here and there. But number one, it's just too expensive for me to feed deer all the time, and two, I really don't want to shoot a deer over corn. What's your take on it? Do you have a lot of friends that hunt over bait? And like, you guys not baiting, how is it affecting your hunting?
Yeah, that's a great question and a highly debated topic these days. Just like it's a tool in the tool belt. I don't want to, come out and say that I've never baited. Like, we've absolutely dumped corn on the ground, but just like you, I haven't killed a deer over a corn pile since 2013. I just don't prefer to do it that way. If somebody out there hunts over corn, great. There's just something, the older I get, that I want out of a hunting experience, and shooting one over corn is not my preferred way to do it. But it's a tool in the tool belt. And, sometimes we will in the late season, like the defensive baiting. I know some people call it, like, during gun season. A lot of times we'll put some corn out in like the core of our property.
Right.
Just to try to hold some deer there.
Yeah.
Which didn't work well last year. All three of the bucks we were hoping made it through got killed by neighbors, so it didn't work. So
I can share your pain there.
Yeah. But I have plenty of friends and family that basically exclusively hunt over corn. I think it's becoming more widely accepted and more readily available, and I know a lot of people that is just hunting. Period. Like, that is.
It's
you're
in
a deer
the culture.
hunter?
It's in the culture here. Like, I'm very shy about who I voice my opinion, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't care what anybody else does. I don't want to put myself on a pedestal and be like, oh, don't hunt over bait, blah, 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 blah. If that's what you do and you're on limited time, I'd completely understand it. Like you said, I feel like we've got a deeper passion for this, and I enjoy that time spent trying to, fill my tag the way that I want to fill it. And I feel like it's more rewarding. It's also very beneficial to us for hunting out of state. Cause let's face it, we're not going to go many states you can't bait, and you're just using your woodsmanship to kill a deer. So guys, if that's what you want to do, I think it's only going to benefit you to kind of, try to ease your way away from using the bait if that's your primary way. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to come off and piss anybody off. I think it's a very valid topic that we need to talk about, because both of us go through the same thing where we're told if we don't bait, our neighbors are baiting. It's 100% the truth. But at the same time, I've noticed a lot of people get pictures of deer on corn, but they're not killing them. So, and how do I say this without sounding like an asshole? I've killed 2 really good deer and I didn't use bait. And it's kind of weird that a lot of other people all around me are baiting like a lot, and they're not killing those upper echelon deer or even seeing them. So I think there's something to be said. Like, I do believe that more mature deer, when they get up in age and they're used to that corn, they kind of know that it's like, man, like, and I'm not going to say you're not going to catch one slipping every once in a while, because let's face it, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
But
man, everything you just said there.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we debate this topic.
Yeah.
Probably.
I'm very selective on it, but we're having this conversation because I want to with you. So
it was just cool to hear you say all that, because like we are very, very like-minded in our thinking there. Yeah, I think you're right. I think some mature deer get hip to it, but there's always the one-offs. Some people will say, like, that are really like pro baiting, that like, oh, you mature deer don't come into bait anyway. And it's like, well, then why are you baiting? Like, there's a chance that they do. I think it's real tough on like the 2-3-year-old age class. Like, oh man, those things are just getting waxed over corn.
Right.
So I'd argue if someone's out there like kind of like on the fence, like, man, I'm hunting over corn, but I'm not getting the experience that I feel like I should be or that I want to, like, give it up just for a season or for a little while. You will learn more hunting based off of sign and screwing up, diving in too deep or being aggressive than you ever will just sitting over a corn pile. I promise.
Yeah. And and the cost side of things, like, let's just be honest about that. I mean, you could save so much money by not baiting. I know how much money you can spend baiting. Let's just be honest. I mean, it's crazy.
It's rough.
Corn, in Maryland, I used to bait in suburban because I was hunting a 2-acre parcel or 1-acre parcel, whatever. And it just back then it was like $5 a bag. It wasn't terrible, but it just felt like it was just not as challenging at all. I grew up hunting mobile. When I got into that, I didn't even know that you could bait deer in Maryland until I was like in my 20s. And my buddy's like, "You don't bait deer?" And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you don't use corn? I'm like, you use corn to kill deer? Like, I was like dumbfounded. And he's like, yeah, that's what we always do. And he was like, so we went back and forth, and it was just comical. And I look back at it now, and it's just like, it's part of why I want to move to Iowa, to get away from all of this. If I'm going to be honest, like, level the playing field a little bit. And Kentucky is a great state, and this was another topic I wanted to get into. Like, let's just talk about like the class of deer that we're seeing each year. If you want to talk about that, I understand if you don't. Of course. But I mean, how many deer over like 140 are you actually seeing a year?
Not anywhere near what we would even 5 to 10 years ago. I mean, It was not uncommon on a 50-acre parcel. And we had access to a lot more ground 5 to 10 years ago, but still it was not uncommon to have. I mean, I remember a bean field about a mile from my house here one night, going out there and filming, and there were 12 bucks out in the bean field. And I would say, obviously I didn't put my hands on any of them, but I would say 8 of the 12 were over 140.
Yeah.
And there was a couple in there that would probably touch in like the 70s, 80s range.
Right.
And I could sit that same bean field now, and you might see one that's hitting that 40 range. So yeah, it's dwindled quite a bit now. Like anywhere, you have your pockets. Like, we talk a lot about how there's like good counties within the state, but even within those counties, there's like micro areas that are just worlds better than others. Yeah. Whether that has to do with hunting pressure or baiting or the cross, you could go down a million different rabbit holes. I don't know, but it's definitely not what it once was as far as a quantity.
Is poaching bad where you're at?
Not really. No. At least not to my knowledge. I'm pretty close with a couple of the game wardens around here, and like, it's not as prevalent as I know, like at least the
It's
area of
bad.
Kentucky we go, it's
Yeah.
like nuts.
It's bad here
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had to deal with that a lot, and it's unfortunate, and it's almost like they don't care. If I'm going to be honest with you,
Crazy.
it is. It's just really sad. Like, and then talk to them on the phone, and they're like, "Oh, well, we know most of you bow hunters are very dedicated," and it's like, yeah, we are. And like, the sad thing for me is I've passed both of these deer that I've found dead with 12 ring bullet holes in them, and there's no way that somebody just shot the deer and didn't find it. Like, they're both in a lane, like, with perfect bullet holes in them, and one of them has wet blood in its mouth, and I found it this morning at dark. So, like, the deer was shot at night. There's no way around it. The dude wouldn't even come out and look at the deer. Didn't even care. Oh, well, if the heads are still in the deer, there's nothing I can do. Like, okay, well, I'm just letting you know that that's BS, man. Like, it's kind of, as a hunter, they, would have loved to have shot that deer, or even see a younger kid shoot that deer next year. I mean, it was a double main beam buck, just shot for nothing, and it's upsetting. And on top of it, we've got, I don't know what it is around here, but we have the same kind of pockety type areas. Like, we've got good sections, and then I've noticed that the better sections are really just in the middle of nowhere, tons of Amish. And I'm not trying to throw darts at the Amish, but they either are really dedicated hunters, or they're really sloppy hunters, and they just shoot everything. And I feel like there's definitely not much in between, and that plays a part in things too. And I think I know they've wiped out a lot of deer that, even from when I first moved here to now, it's like night and day difference. And some of the really good chunks of public that I used to hunt that bordered some of these pieces of private were amazing, and haven't seen anything good in them at all. Like, this past season, I'd say I had maybe 3 or 4 deer over 140 the whole season, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 5 or 6, but just not what I was, expecting. Honestly, it's a great year for growing. I've seen a ton of giant bucks in other places. But yeah, the deer numbers here, just, I don't know. You ask other people that grew up here, and they're like, "Oh, well, there never used to be deer here." So I guess it's a good thing. I mean,
Yeah. It's all, I guess, perspective too. Like you said, to some people, like what we see now is a ton of deer, right? Like the state, for that matter, they just want more deer shot. But like,
right.
To somebody that's been engulfed in hunting for a long time, like you or I, and has seen the ebbs and flows, it's like, man, our numbers are hurting. That's crazy about the poaching thing. Like, that's gut wrenching to know that, like, your hands are cuffed at that point. It's like, nobody's going to do anything. It's just going to keep happening. Like, but as
and
far
the
as
farmers don't care either. That I think a lot of the farmers want to see them dead, which I get it, but it's like, as a conservationist, it's like, it's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, I was just gonna go into that. I think that's something that's killing us around here. I'm pretty close to a couple of the farmers around here, and they have a lot of the depredation kill permits.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they're only shooting doe. Well, they're only supposed to be shooting does. I'm not so sure that always happens. But the one farm around here, they killed 80 on last spring, summer. And I'm just like, okay, I know it's just does, but that's having an effect on the buck population. Like, they're not around to get bred or to raise their fawns or whatever. So I hate that. Like you said, though, they don't care. They're looking out for their crops, and that's it.
It's a money thing. Like, and I get it. Like, I have plenty of friends that are farmers. I totally understand. And it's like, how are we able, our hands are kind of cuffed too as hunters. Like, I'm only allowed to take 3 does from my county for the whole season. So nobody else around here, none of these out-of-state guys want to shoot those. Everybody wants to shoot bucks. And it's kind of even gotten to the point for them, like, they could lease some of their land out to outfitters, but they know if they got people hunting with outfitters, they're only going to shoot bucks, So they're like, hey, I don't need your money because you're not going to help me. All you're going to do is put corn out, bring more deer to my farm, shoot no does, and take 1 buck, or, So, like, it's a tough spot, man. I mean, what's your thoughts on, like, what we can do to maybe, curve things and improve things in both of our states.
Man, keep having conversations like this. I don't know what else to do. I attended an ODNR meeting a couple of months ago, and they were allowing speakers from the public to get up there and talk. And I, along with a bunch of other people, you had to submit like a form online and basically disclose to them what you planned on talking about. And I went through all that along with like a dozen other people, and we all got an email back saying you're not allowed to speak on anything that's not like a proposed rule change. And was in communication with Skip Sly and some other guys, and they're like, that's BS. Like, they can't tell you what you can and can't talk about. So I sent an email back just trying to be respectful, but also pretty direct, and just like, what's the deal with this? Here's something that is a big problem in our state. I want to make it known at this meeting and open it up for discussion or whatever. Like, how come you guys aren't allowing that? And they kind of flipped the script and were like, we'll allow you to speak. But they didn't let anybody else. They just let me. I don't know if it was because I sent the email and just kind of called them out on it or what, but
Wow.
It became very apparent that there is no plans of change whatsoever, and it is all about money. They do not care. It was like I stood up there in front of these people, and they couldn't have been more out of touch with what was going on. And just your 3 minutes were up, and they were like, all right, on to the next thing. Like, did not care even in the slightest. You have all these people like screaming for help basically in these states that are out there living in it for the entire season, and they don't care. They actually sat there and said at the meeting, they're like, we're going to increase the cost of non-resident tags. We're probably going to see a dip in non-resident hunters the first year, but we expect it to exceed it the following year. So we're good. So I'm like, so basically you're trying to spin it like you're increasing non-resident tags in order to hopefully reduce some of the pressure for residents, but then you're hoping and planning that it's going to exceed it in the future. So all you did was put more money in your pocket.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, it goes to show you that.
And where's that money going?
Exactly.
Where's it going? Is it going back into conservation? It's really like, man, there's, I've never really gotten into like the politics of all this stuff, honestly, on any other episodes, but it's honestly heartbreaking. The fact that we're so passionate about it and we know a lot more about it, like, and the fact that they don't want to hear our voices. I mean, what do you do? What can you do? I mean, like, that's part of another thing with like Kentucky with like, I wish we would push our rifle season back. It opened November 9th last year. And I understand like, the culture and this is how it's always been kind of mentality, but like, I'm tired of hearing everybody bitch about why we don't have bigger deer and why, we used to have all these big deer and now we don't. Well, they're getting smoked because of cell cameras and corn piles and high powered rifles during the rut. Like, why? Okay, that's fine. Let's keep all of that. Let's keep the high power rifle. Let's just push it back a couple weeks. Like, let's push it back to like even before Thanksgiving. I don't care, but that would open up and let a lot more deer live. I'm not just speaking it as a bow hunter. Like, it's just the truth. And I'll tell you what, man, like, honestly, I've grown to love that latter period of, late November and early December. It's been for some of the biggest deer. I mean, it's great, but we have a 2-week rifle season and like, they don't stand a damn chance. They really don't. I mean, you got that. You got guys driving around shooting them out of trucks. I don't know. I know for a fact, this is just an example. I had about 10 shooter bucks on camera, right? They were like 125 or better, like mature deer. If they would have walked in, some of them would have gotten a pass, but for a majority, I had like 8 hit listers, right? Dude, almost all of them got killed that I know of. I know I got a couple friends in the area. I had multiple, permission pieces around and with a couple of my friends hunting, and we're all sharing pictures, like they almost literally all of them got killed. Like there's 2 of them that lived, and that's just one little area, and that's a good hunting area that I'm in. It's one of the little pockets. And So what's left for next year? You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
It's
we've got some
crazy.
good 3-year-olds, but I swear these 3-year-olds make it every year, and I don't see none of them.
Yep.
I really don't know what happens to those bucks. There's so many good deer that I pass, and very few that I catch up with. I don't know how.
We say the same thing around here. But yeah, it's the U or I, like you said, just pushing the rifle season back. Like granted, I'm not in the decision making process, and I do give credit to some of the people that are, because that's impossible to please everybody. But like that seems like that would be such an easy change
Yeah.
that would yield positive results for everyone. But it just, it's an uphill battle. It seems like stuff that is apparent to you or I. It's like, why aren't we doing this? It was the same thing with like reducing we used to be able to shoot 2 turkeys here in Ohio until like 4 or 5 years ago. And it got so bad in this state. I mean, so bad that they finally reduced it to 1. And, I was just like, why didn't we do this to get ahead of it? Like 5 years before? Why did we wait till the last minute when things are so bad? Easton always says, it's like all these states are very, reactive instead of proactive. They wait till it gets completely out of hand.
Yes.
And I get it. It's hard to keep up with how quick technology is advancing, the cell cameras, the drones, all that stuff. It's hard to keep up with that stuff. But like, man, there's got to be people in the decision-making process that are just as engulfed in it as you or I. At least I would hope. And you'd think they'd be in touch with some of these things, but I think it comes back to money.
Kentucky is, it really, like, just being a resident here for 5 years and seeing the turkey numbers, from my standpoint, like, I remember talking to good friends of mine that have been turkey hunting for a long time, and they were like, dude, this farm that you're hunting used to have 100 birds in it. Like every spring you had to wait to part ways, like, through the road. They would just cross the road. And this spring, man, like it was terrible. It was honestly freaking terrible. I don't think there's a single turkey hunter that I talked to that didn't feel the same way. I bet you I saw a third of the amount of turkeys I normally see. I could go out every morning and glass and get tons of content and footage. And this year it was honestly a struggle. Like I had a couple farms that had birds, but it was just a very weird season. I mean, I feel really lucky to have tagged out, but if I'm being honest with you, I think Kentucky needs to go to a 1-bird state. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I think if you're being honest with yourself, like, and you can see the writing on the wall, if they wait another couple years and they don't do it, we're going to be in the same spot you guys are. So,
yeah, I had an interesting conversation with a gentleman about that last week. I don't know. I'm curious to get your input on this, but I've hunted Kentucky in this for spring turkey for the last almost decade, and same thing. It used to be you'd hear 20, and it wouldn't be a matter of you just which one you want to go after. Right. It wasn't like like it's just, hey, pick which one you want to go after. This year, the morning I killed, I mean, we heard 2. Like it's just completely different. We're on like some pristine private. Like it's crazy how much it's changed. But I got my survey from Kentucky, and one of the questions in it was like, would you rather us drop to a 1-bird state and potentially hear more turkeys, or keep it at a 2-bird state and potentially hear less turkeys? And I posted that snippet on our Instagram story, and put like a poll up just to see where people's heads were at. And 60 people polled that they would rather drop it to a 1-bird state and hear more turkeys. So in other words, they want a better experience. Yeah. And then 3 people voted they'd rather keep it at 2 and hear less turkeys. And offline, I can share with you who this individual is. Probably one of the most well-known turkey hunters on the planet messaged, and we had a very interesting conversation. And he was polar opposite. He said, everybody's going to wake up one day and go, where did all of our hunting rights go? He said they need to keep it at a 2-bird state. I want the opportunity to hunt as many days as possible and to shoot as many turkeys as possible. We have to be careful is basically what he was saying. Like the more these states pull back some of these regulations, eventually we're going to look up and be like, what happened? I can't hunt anywhere now.
Yeah.
It was an interesting perspective, but my mind's always like, look into the resource, deer, turkey, whatever. It's like, what's best for the resource, and whether he's right or wrong, I just want what's ever best for the resource. So,
well, I mean, I don't think they can deny, like, once there's an overabundance of something, right? Like, okay, if they take 1 bird down, take it to a 1-bird state, and there's turkeys everywhere. Like people are going to be bitching left and right, right? Like people are going to bitch regardless. But like,
Mm-hmm.
let's be honest. I don't know, man. I'm really interested to see where that goes. I need to look at my email. I'm terrible with my email, but no, I honestly I tried to get a hold of an officer just to have a conversation with somebody, at Fish and Game about it, because I'm very fortunate. I was able to spend a ton of time this spring, and honestly, I spent a lot of time just trying to chase one specific turkey because he was like the only one on the property, one or two. Like
Yeah.
I had two of them, but it's like I knew who I was going after. He kicked my butt. I'll be honest with you. I learned a ton from him.
I remember following your Instagram story. I was rooting for you.
Yeah. Oh man, I had my wits end that one day. I was just like, boy, this second tag's gonna feel good. Like, oh man, a lot of people love that one. It was too funny.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I finally got it. I'll tell you what though, man, to just touch on the fact of like how special that second burb was, man. Like just to touch on like how much you need to really get a hold of yourself when you're going through struggles and hold on to how much more special when it comes together, it actually is for you. It makes it that much sweeter. And that was one of those, man, I just had a epic afternoon hunt. These birds were going nuts, and to have it come together, it was just freaking, I couldn't have drummed it up better. It was perfect.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. I love deer and I love deer hunting. But man, turkey hunting is in my blood, and oh gosh, there's nothing like it.
There isn't, man. I mean, I'm not trying to sound that kind of way, but I'm gonna miss it a lot this spring. I definitely got bit hard by the bug this year.
I think a lot of it is because of how similar, like the way that I deer hunt and the way that you deer hunt is a lot like turkey hunting. Like, you're moving around, you're mobile, you're aggressive, whatever. Like I hunt deer and turkey almost the same way.
Yeah, you're being ultra aggressive because you can hear them and you're like, all right, I'm going to go, like I had to tone myself down a couple notches this year because I was just way, way too like, all right, I'm going to go at him. And then we bump into each other. And then the next day I'm running after him. He's just running for my calls. And I'm like, I'm going to cut him off over here. Bam, there he is, 20 yards flying away from me. I'm like, okay, all right, well, learn that one. Learn that. It's just lesson after lesson. But you guys made it out west recently, didn't you?
Yeah, I took my dad out there. He's getting to the age where he really wants to start doing some of these trips, and he never traveled and hunted growing up, and so I'm honored to be the vehicle that gets him to these places, and kind of fills that wish or void, I guess. He's kind of, like I said, looking back like, man, I wish I did some of this stuff a long time ago. So like this year I'm like, we're doing it. And we had an absolute blast. It was a fun time. Whether we got a turkey or not.
No, you guys had a blast, man. I loved following along on the stories. That was great.
Yeah, seeing my dad out there doing that. He's 60. He's in great shape. But it was tough on him. Those mountains are no joke.
No doubt.
He did really well. And I'm looking forward to taking him somewhere again next year. I took that for granted for a long time, like hunting with my dad, and I've hit an age where I'm like really trying to soak that in again.
Nah, man, that's epic. Unfortunately, my old man's just he's getting to the point where it's really tough on him. And every year we try to go out and hunt here and there, but it's sad. It's sad for me, like as a son, to really have to slow down and like not, and like make those memories the best that you can, because you just don't know what life's going to throw at you. But now I love that for you, man. I hope you guys have tons more great memories shared. And there's just something special about out west, isn't there? I mean,
like this cliche to say, but no matter where you go, like the pictures just do not do it justice. Snapping photos and I'm looking at it, I'm just like, man, this is not what I'm looking at right now.
It's not. No, dude, I know. I remember driving into camp for my elk hunt out in Idaho, and I was looking at the mountains like, oh shit. Like, I don't think I'm ready for this. Like, I'm like in the best shape I've ever been in, and I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, I couldn't believe, and then you do it and you're just like, hey, I'm going to do this no matter what, you know what I mean? Like it's come hell or high water. Like I'm seeing this through. So it's really good to just see what you're made of, man. Like we don't get to experience that enough around here. maybe in
It's funny.
in the hills in Southern Ohio, but tell me they weren't a lot different when you went, from being out there, and it's like, you're like, oh yeah, no problem.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah, it's funny what a deer or a turkey or an elk or whatever, like, well, you'll figure out how impressive the human body is and what it's able to do. Like when you're motivated by something like that, yeah, it looks daunting and it's tough, but like there's not much I won't do or won't climb.
Yeah, we need to get right there. All right, I got it.
Yeah.
Well, Nick,
it's cool, man.
We're man, I could talk to you for hours, buddy. This has been a blast. I've really enjoyed this one. Got a couple closing out questions. Number one, I kind of touched on it earlier. What's been one of your biggest failures, that's really made you the hunter you are today?
So I've thought a lot about that because I hear you asking on a lot of your podcasts, and I'll try to do my best to articulate this, but I was trying to mull over it a little bit. And I used to always like kind of plant my flag in things when it comes to hunting and in life, and just like whatever I thought it was or thought it was supposed to be is what it was. And I think that made me screw up a lot in life and in hunting. Like I'd buy into something or think, oh, this deer is bedding in this spot and I'm certain of it or whatever. And there's a sense of like confidence that comes along with that. But I also failed a lot because of that. So I try to keep a perspective now that's like, it's not always what it seems. And I know that's super general, but I think it's helped me a lot, both in hunting and in life, that just because you think something's a certain way or you think that deer is doing something, if you can kind of step back and look outside of the box, a lot of times you're going to find a solution and a result that ends up being in your favor in the end. So I don't know if that'll make sense to the listeners, but in life and in hunting, it's not always what you think it is. Different relationships or different hunting tactics aren't always what they seem. And if you get in there and dive in and figure it out for yourself, you'll be better off in the end. So
no, I love that. That's solid, man. Yeah, I always try to preach like just thinking outside of the box and do some different stuff, man. You never know.
Yeah, I got to that point because I would just buy in, so much to what everybody else was doing and everything they preach. And although those things can work, a lot of times it's every scenario is so different. Like you got to get in there and figure it out for yourself. And just because it seems that way doesn't mean it is that way.
Right.
So read what the woods is telling you, and
yeah,
you don't have any regrets that way.
That's killer, man. What's been your favorite broadhead to date?
Oh man, that's a tough one. We were just debating this the other night. I shot fixed blades for a long time, and I actually went back to a Rage broadhead last year. Okay. Because I told you earlier in the podcast, a lot of times I deviate towards like what everybody else does. So Rage catches a lot of flack. And so last year I was like, I'm going to shoot a Rage and just see what it does.
Heath Cisco, that's his favorite broadhead.
Is it really?
Yeah. He shot a Rage 2 blade forever. That's what he shoots. So,
I'm just saying the blood trail that I had and the wound that it put in this deer was almost like I could never show it in a video. It was devastating. But if I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be a fixed blade. It would be the Annihilator broadhead.
Really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't know the technology behind it, but the way I always describe it is it almost like it's a solid piece of steel, and it has like a scoop on the back end.
Yeah.
And it would almost leave it looked like a slug hole in the deer. It just leave a big gash open hole. I've had certain fixed blade and mechanical heads that it almost leave like a slice where the flaps almost like close.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you might, smoke the deer and he's bleeding a lot internally, whatever, you don't get the blood trail that you sometimes think you should.
Yeah.
With those Annihilator heads, I always had just incredible blood trails. Like I said, giant holes in the deer. Looked like you shot them with a slug gun. So if I had to pick one, it'd probably be those.
Okay. What is your most bucket list hunt that you ever wanted to do? What state would it be in?
Deer or turkey or what?
Anything, literally. Well, in the whole, let's keep it to North America though.
Okay. I guess, can I give one for both?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be Iowa for whitetail. Obviously, I know that's lame because that's everybody's.
Yeah,
I wish I had been putting points in for years. But I just completed my bucket list turkey hunt. Man, I'm ate up with turkey hunting. If I had to pick one, I'd turkey hunt over deer. That's how much I love it.
That's awesome.
And I've always wanted. Yeah, I've always wanted to go out west and turkey hunt, and this was the year we checked that off. And I didn't expect or think I'd take my dad when I checked that one off, but doing that made it more of a bucket list hunt than I ever thought it even would be. So that was one for sure.
Okay.
I love traveling around and seeing new places. I'm not one of those guys that wants to
Did
check
you guys
them all off. And
did you drive or did you fly?
we flew, which was my first time
How'd you get
flying.
your turkey back? I'm curious.
Great question. So I wanted to get my first Miriam I got out there mounted because he was pristine.
Yeah.
And I called a bunch of taxidermists around there to see if they could like skin him out so I could fly him back to get him mounted here. None of them would do it. One guy said I could keep it in his freezer and fly him back whole, but that just seemed like a heck of a process. So I ended up just, taking the fan and the spurs and everything like I do here. But I actually just, took the meat and obviously froze it. We stayed in an Airbnb, so I just kept it in the freezer all week. And then on our way back, I just bought a little cheap cooler, threw it in there. It was frozen solid. And then once we got through, baggage claim and security check and everything, I went to like the Starbucks in the airport and filled up a couple bags of ice and just put ice on them on the flight, and they were fine. So
I got you. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I've seen, I guess it was like Dave Owens or somebody like that. They took a whole turkey and they put it on their carry-on or something somehow, which I had to ask that question because I want to do the same thing. I'm not sure. Maybe living in Iowa, I was thinking like Nebraska, I can get into Merriam's, right? Like they're like, you get that hybrid.
Yep. Further west. Yeah, you will.
Yeah. So that's kind of my approach. I'm probably just ending up driving because whenever I kill one, I want to get it mounted too. I think they're like, I think it's crazy. I always said I have a Eastern mounted, but for me, like I just think they're the most pretty bird,
Gorgeous.
What's the other one? The
Rios.
The Rios are more white, aren't they?
They're kind of more like a bronze.
What's the one that's in Mexico? The Golds.
The Goulds?
Yeah, I think those are probably the prettiest. I think they got like a little more white.
They're very white. Yeah, they're very white. Yeah,
but they're not cheap.
No. I considered just flying it back whole, and I probably should have. I don't know. We kind of did a swing out there, so we were hitting a few different states. So I was just unsure of how to freeze them and then get him and then go elsewhere. I just was like, you know what? I'll come a little more prepared next time maybe and learn how to skin them out myself so I can just fly them back like that. But
yeah,
there's plenty of YouTube videos out there now on how to do it.
I would not want to skin a turkey. I can't imagine how I really like the cape mounts. I like taking and like if I can do that, like I've only done it on a couple, but I feel like that's probably what I would end up doing with a Miriam, or maybe do one of the big picture frames with the fan and that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, well, maybe I would just cape the whole thing out and then salt it and put it somewhere. But
I did that with my dad's. I caped his out. Like you trying like down to the neck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I did that with his out there.
I think they're pretty, man. That's a cool mount. Just my opinion. But all right, final question. What is your favorite song to go? If you had to pick one, I know that's kind of tough for some people, but what's your go-to song that sticks out? Maybe it's something that you and your dad used to jam to, or.
Oh man!
All right, and even if you can't pick a song, what's your genre? I like to try to do this to try to like get some of our listeners to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm one of those guys that listens to all kinds of stuff. I'll listen to rap some days, like some pretty tough stuff, and then I'll listen to to country or blues. If I had to pick one, like right now, I've been listening to a lot of Big X the Plug.
Yeah,
if we're going on the rap side of things, I like him a lot.
I can get down with that. Yeah,
I got to give a shout out to one of my best friends growing up. He's into music. GNL Biggs, if you're into rap. Maybe check him out, a friend of mine. But man,
let me get a shout out.
Oh, gosh, I'm trying to think on the country side of things if I had to pick like a go-to. Gosh, man. A song probably out west. All I listened to was "Should Have Been a Cowboy."
Okay,
there we go.
All right,
Dad and I cranked that a bunch because in that song he says, "Go west, young man. You've been told." Which I think he's talking about California in that song, but I love that song.
No, he's talking about Montana. He's going after Miriams for sure.
Yeah,
no, that's right. That's sick, man. No, I remember growing up with my dad, man. Like he was a big music nut, and we had like a 2-hour drive to our hunting property, and it was always Stranglehold or some other Ted Nugent song. It's like, gotta get the juices going. So it always stuck with me. I don't know. I'm the same way. It depends on my mood. Some days, like, I'll listen to Tequila on the way there. That's my kill song. That for me. Okay. If you ever see me post anything online or on my story with Tequila, that's what it's about. Like, I'm heading into kill on. So
it's funny you say your dad. My dad always cranked Nickelback. We throw in the Nickelback CDs, and people hate on Nickelback. I love Nickelback.
Look at this photograph.
That's down there, but
I know,
there's some.
I had to. I'm sorry, I couldn't hold that one in.
Yeah. But anymore, I mean, probably like a lot of people, I don't listen to a ton of music driving anymore. I'm always throwing a podcast on.
Yeah,
like almost every time.
Yeah. I wish. I'm looking forward to that. Like, I used to drive a lot and I was huge on listening to podcasts, and I'll be dead honest. I'm out of the loop. Like, when I do go on drives, I of course have like a little list of stuff to catch up with, but, yeah. And this point moving forward, I'm going to be tuning into some more of the Venari Effect. All you guys out there listening, make sure you go subscribe to their channel on YouTube and check them out. They've got a great podcast. I love the content you guys are doing. You're just keeping it real. Nick, it's been such a pleasure having you, buddy. Can't thank you enough for your time.
Hey, I appreciate it, Justin. Likewise.
Absolutely, buddy. We'll catch up with you soon, and love to have you back on maybe during season. Maybe we can get you and Easton on or something if we can do that.
Hey, that sounds great. Again, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, brother. Have a good one. Catch up with you all next week.